It's the 22nd of November, 2024. Coming up on today's Global Intelligence Agency Operations Report. Rumors are circulating around the internet about an incident in Mar-a-Lago. Allegedly, ambulances and several Secret Service vehicles left the facility yesterday. We will tell you what's really happening behind the scenes. And it's 11/22, and today is the last day of the 11/11 portal. And what does that all mean? Hello, everyone. It is the 22nd of November, 11/22. Something to be said for them, gematria and double numbers. And definitely was a day, that's for sure. Okay, let's talk about regular world things, I guess you would say, things that everybody's kind of hearing about. There are rumors circulating that there were several ambulances along with other Secret Service vehicles that left the Mar-a-Lago facility abruptly. I think it was yesterday afternoon the rumors started swirling. And, as always, when you have Duck Dynasty in charge, it was a fiasco. Now, let's explain one quick thing so you understand what's happening down there. So with clones, there's often some kind of a tether to the original soul or the original being. In order to create the clones, there's definitely an etherical tie. And if something happens that breaks that tie, then it's only a matter of time, usually 72 hours or less, before the clones start to malfunction and eventually pass away as well. So in this particular case, we're talking about the president-elect. Duck Dynasty, you did it again, didn't you? Okay, so the fiasco that was orchestrated yesterday was actually a minor incident that happened with, let's call it clone number 1 of Trump. And the minor incident was allegedly something they were staging. They were contemplating using this because if they used it on this particular day and said that something happened, they could call it a fake assassination, they could call it a medical incident, and then he would have passed away today. This was their plan. So the staging began, and coincidentally, if they had announced it today, it would have been the same day that JFK was shot. See the big picture here, big patriots, everybody loves JFK or loved JFK. Well, not everybody, but in this particular case, in the public eye, and wouldn't it be a coincidence that the deep state did it on the same day as JFK? And oh my God, and this was kind of the plan. But due to all of the other events that are happening with this 11/11/2022 11/22 portal, there was definitely a severing between clone 1 and clone 2. I feel like I'm doing a Dr. Seuss thing here. It's thing 1 and thing 2, and they both began to malfunction in different ways. So clone 1 was kind of on its last legs as of this morning. My guess would be it won't last through the night. And I know that there's currently a place in Mar-a-Lago where they're kind of all sitting around waiting to see what happens. They did close the residence at Mar-a-Lago today to the Secret Service. The Secret Service was not allowed to go in there. Today, we got a call from someone there on the inside, and that is because they tried to do some type of an esoteric life force transfusion, if you will, and it failed. And the secret space program people we call Duck Dynasty, the Cowboys, they couldn't figure out anything else to do to save Clone 1. So they ended up bringing in Clone 2 into the same facility. And Clone 2 is a little bit different than Clone 1. Clone 1 was kind of flesh and blood and those types of things, normal person with a soul. That was different than the originals, but a soul nonetheless. But Clone 2 was more of a hybrid, not really human, let me put it that way to you, and more of an esoteric kind of way. Depending on which facility they made the clone at, it would be how natural it was. So Clone 2 wasn't quite so natural. So they brought in Clone 2, and then Clone 2 began to malfunction in a very unnatural way. It became apparent to other Secret Service members, and the SSP couldn't hide it, that this was not a person. There are certain things that a person's body can do. They bend in certain ways, we move in certain ways, and this was no longer moving in those ways. Plus, the speaking became erratic and somewhat insane, really, as Clone 2 started to malfunction due to the severing of Clone 2. So eventually Clone 2 became so insane, it became violent, and it started to attack people, and apparently they had to put Clone 2 down. So it was kind of funny. I wish I could tell this as a joke, two clones and some SSP people walk into a bar. No, I'm just kidding. But that's what it kind of felt like today, because I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, what a circus that is. That is a circus. So I do not know if the Secret Service was ever let in to see the status of Clone 1 and what's going to happen from here. They missed the mark on today because they were a little bit distracted with everything that's going on. Are they going to say that he passed away in 11/22? I don't know. Are they going to announce that there was a passing away? I'm not sure. The only reason why I think this might happen is because of all the promises the secret space program operatives have made out there to many, many, many people. Not only is there a lot of money promised, there are also a lot of positions promised. And sometimes, in a lot of cases, let's just say, the same position was offered to several different people. That would be people like Dan Bogdino. I know he does a podcast of some sort. I never really watched it, but he's been promised. He's an agency guy, as most of these alt media, Joe Rogan is as well, and a lot of the higher end, I guess you would say, a lot of view folks that are on the internet are also, ex-agents. Jesse Ventura. And these are all facts, not questions, not guessing. Alex Jones. Most of them, if you make it to the big time, you were involved with the agency in some way, shape, or form. When the alt media became popular, even before the days of YouTube and people were doing conference calls and blog talk radio, they were still inserting their own people in there so they could maintain control of the narrative. It's the reason why we see so many Q things and Trump things and whatnot throughout the media. So because Bogdino was a big supporter, he was promised a position for his support, and that position was head of the Secret Service. Good luck to you. There is probably also another 12 people, just guessing, well, not really guessing, that had also been promised the same position. So it's going to be kind of probably a game of musical chairs if they keep Trump alive. Now, the talk amongst the secret space program folks, Duck Dynasty, is that they are thinking of using a situation. This is before today's circus, where they could say that he passed away. What a hero! What a martyr. But Vance is going to keep up the fight, and Vance is our guy, and who's also an ex-CIA agent, by the way. Vance is our guy and he's going to do the thing, and, keep supporting Vance. And just like you supported Trump, he'll carry on his legacy and, all of these types of things. But behind the scenes, they can say, oh, sorry, Mr. Bogdino and 9,000 other people that were promised positions. That was kind of a Trump thing and he's not here anymore. And, sorry about that, and they can get out of their promises that they made to people like Elon Musk and other folks as well. And they, Vance could say, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't talk to me about that. I didn't know anything about it. And then that would kind of alleviate a little stress from them because, today was another payday, of course, a day ending in Y. And, there's a lot of pressure on them right now and they don't like it. A lot of people are turning their backs on them. There's not a whole lot of people listening to their orders anymore. And they thought this would be a perfect out. But it kind of backfired today because it really actually happened. They didn't have a choice anymore. Are they going to announce anything? I don't know. They might just throw up another guy in a mask. Why not? We've had a masked president in the U.S. for the last 4 years, basically, 3 years and some odd days, because it was shortly within like a week or two that happened. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do from here on out. That's not the only clone on the planet that also passed away due to the severing of ties. There were several elite members, some names you know, some names you don't know. Are they going to actually announce that these people also died? I'm not sure. Still waiting for December. Remember, everybody dies in December, really. Unusual for them to pass away this early. But remember something, too. Governments around the world usually go on break starting today. They don't come back until around the 15th of January in full force unless there's something major going on. And this is your senators, the House, the Senate, all those people, they pretty much are done as of today as far as time in Washington, D.C. There's a few lingering things they do, but it's kind of like you do when you go on vacation sometimes. You handle some last minute things for the business or for your job, and then you kind of go off on vacation, and that's it. And that's kind of what the next 3 days, Monday through Wednesday of next week, is all about. And then really you don't hear from, it's kind of crickets over there at that point. Same thing goes for very high level banking. Most of them are off, even though it's an American holiday. Most of them go on vacation as of today. And not a whole lot happens in the high level banking world from here on out. So I guess if you were going to have a public person pass away, that could be a big deal. You would have to do it from today on forward. Same thing goes for Chucky over there. Are they going to announce the first week in December is what I heard. I haven't heard any different, but then again, I also really haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to see if they were going to actually announce that King Charles passed away too. They kept the Queen going for years and years. Who knows what they're going to do over there. A lot of it has to do with maintaining power and control of certain operatives that run, things behind the scenes. Power brokers, they use the name, I'm here on behalf of so-and-so, and they can get things done in other countries. So we'll see, we'll see what happens from here on out, but it was fun to watch the circus. I wish all of you could have been a fly on the wall because it was hilarious. It was something completely and totally unexpected, and it kind of threw a monkey wrench into their alleged show they were going to put forth. They figure because, they put a lot of people off. They told everybody initially that all these things were going to start happening by the 5th of November, right after he was selected. I don't know, whatever. I feel like I'm doing a pronoun thing. He, she, they people of the Secret Space Force are basically told everybody it was going to happen by November 5th. You're going to start to see changes right away. Money would come and all these crazy things, and it didn't. So now they're saying it's going to happen by the inauguration. And as far as they're concerned, it doesn't look like anything is going to happen in their favor by then. So their best hope, and this is what they've been discussing, was to either stage a big martyr situation where he was sick and you need to support him, or they were going to stage, obviously, that he passed away. They weren't sure how, was it an assassination? Were they going to stage something for that? Was it something done by the deep state? He fought the deep state to the end, kind of thing. I'm not sure, but these are all things that were being discussed by the behind the scenes, because if he walked into that office and they still didn't have a solution for all their promises that they made worldwide, there was going to be some big trouble. They're also in a lot of hot water right now with the Russian deep state elite. They had promised the Russian deep state elite that this show that you're seeing going on with the alleged, missiles and long-range missiles in Ukraine and firing on Russia, Putin makes a big speech, the ruble declines further. People are saying that the ruble crashed. It hasn't actually crashed, but it significantly declined against the dollar. It was over 100 rubles to the dollar. And really, from where it's been for the last 30 days or so, that's not a significant decrease. It's been quite some time since, it's been steadily decreasing in value for the last, obviously, year or so. So, so this is where it becomes really, really clear, though, that the secret space program operatives, one of them often talks on the internet about how he took a part in the fall of the USSR and the crashing of the currency and how it all happened. Again, this is the case of a unicorn stick. They did not crash anything. They did the dog and pony show, sure, but the crashing and the changing and all that was ordered decades before it actually happened. And the final buttons were always pushed by Marduk or somebody else. So I don't, but they do brag about it, that they took a part in it. So they're playing the same cards. So if you're listening to this and you're with the KGB and you're in Russia, we know you're playing all the same cards that you did jointly during the fall of the USSR. So are we going to see a fall of Russia or the Ukraine, or I don't know, who knows? And quite frankly, it's an oligarch against the SSP thing. They were talking about moving 800 troops onto the border, and then this whole missile thing came about. Really, it's like a failure to launch on pretty much every single one of their operations, because they think because they do the same thing they did in the 1980s, collectively as a group, we make all the same moves. It's like baking a cake. We got the right flour, we got the right baking powder, we got the right baking soda. Why did the cake not happen? Because they forget that the final ingredient always came from somebody else. So yeah, you're just kind of making more of a mess over there. So these are things that are going on, in the world as it relates to Duck Dynasty, and they're global partners because they're not just American in this particular case. And I wish them all the best. That was funny today. Thank you for that, guys. I appreciate that. That was hilarious. So let's talk about the 1111 portal and the 1122 closing time. So there's a lot of confusion on the internet, and I actually feel really bad for some people. There are some people that have started trying to, quote unquote, open these portals, for over 2 decades. And they seem like they're very good people with all the best of intentions, and they all go to the alleged portal locations on 11/11, and they make the rounds. And this is all over the world. This is in Peru. This is in Ecuador. This is in India. I know that there are several locations in New Zealand they go to, and they really work hard to try to open this portal because they believe that it's a positive thing. And in all honesty, it has really never been a positive thing, and it's never really been about connecting to the creator. So I'm going to take a minute and kind of explain the 11/11 portal to people, just so you have a general idea about what happens with your energy when you focus on these things, and how this actually works. So let's pull out the handy dandy whiteboard for a minute, and let's talk about it. So 11/11 in our calendar really doesn't make a difference. It's what it actually does within the universe. So we know we have more than 12, but let's call it the 12 universes and densities of the Alphaverse. And we call that the light side of the Alphaverse, the light side of the universes. And you also have 12 down of what was the Omegaverse, or the dark side of the universes. Smack dab in the middle here, you have what's called a nil. And if you're familiar with quantum computing, and this isn't just about quantum computing, it's also about quantum physics, you have the nil, or the positive zero and the negative zero. We can call it a density, but basically, just as in quantum computing, you have ones, zeros, and a nil. And a nil has an infinite space in between. But here, you would call it the 0 point of the nil. So, during this particular time, between 11/11 and 11/22, there used to be some portals that would open, and you could call these two false densities. So that goes all the way down. So 11/11 would be where the 0 point kind of opens, and you would have, +1 and -1 here, and they would meet. Now, the significance behind this really doesn't have anything to do with, a portal to God or the creator, or, all the way up, all the way down, however you want to put it. It actually brought you to a false space, which existed around what we call our central sun, and the anti-central sun. But what it did do is it actually brought some interesting things here on Earth. Because we are a nexus planet here on Earth, you would say we also had several locations in the world where there were portals that would open. Minimum, you would have had, probably 12 of the nil. You would have had at least 12 for one side, but I use the term one side, and another 12 for the other side. So really, you had the 24, 36 here on Earth, 36 different locations that would be quote unquote activated. So we've talked in the past about what we call realm owners, and how, for example, 3 up through 3 down, we had Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, and then you would have had the archangel, all kind of in the same being, that would monitor those realms. But each realm owner also had what we call guardians, or guards, really, or gatekeepers. So it was a one time, I guess you would say, of year, and certain years would have been more relevant than others because it didn't always activate fully every year. It was once every several years, and it was more based on events than it was based on a timing thing. So you can't say, well, every 7 years this is going to happen. Every 20 years this is going to happen. It's not really that way. It's based on events and what's going on in the universe. So this is a time where guardians and gatekeepers would basically duke it out. So we had guardians and gatekeepers, for example, for densities 1 through 3, both up and down, because of the way things were, they were the same group of people. And this was a dual group. So we had both Tarzakians, probably not spelling that right, and we had Targethians. So Targethians and Tarzakians, we know about Tarzakians. Those are kind of the smoky beings you see, the shadows in the night. They would have been their connection down to the 8th density of the lower astral. Because remember, Dark Age and everything up to the 6th density was completely 100% dark for quite a while there. And the Targethians would have been tied to the Pleiades and a star called Target there. So they monitored a portal there, which would also open at this time. So because they were quote unquote connected to those same portals here on Earth, they would become more present, so to speak, and there would be originally there would be some kind of a fight for control because those access points and portals were open both up and down. Same thing for 4, 5, and 6. This is where your reptilians were. Your reptilians would have monitored those spaces on behalf of Artemis. So Artemis was also a red reptilian, so to speak, literally cherry red, and her minions were what you know as reptilians. So they kind of have a human-shaped body in a lot of cases, not always, but she alone and her army, or guards or guardians or gatekeepers, were not only of her caliber, she also had a partner even further down here. Her partner was Baal. So you would have had replicas of Baal that also would have been considered guardians and gatekeepers of 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then we have 7, 8, and 9. And guardians and gatekeepers of 7, 8, and 9 would have been in part due to the overlays, Omega system, and whatnot. You would have had Astaroth on the one side. And this is kind of, if you do follow the Q thing, it's why they keep talking about the green, because Astaroth is known for green. Wherever you see a lot of like dark green plasma, you would see Astaroth. So interestingly enough, there you go. So on behalf of anti-source, I guess you would say, which would have been Astaroth's partner, there would have been a fight between anti-source and source, and then of course whoever was fighting on behalf of source on the other side over here. In this case, you kind of got me. But this time of year, it was a time for the guards and the guardians. It's almost like part of a war that would actually take place when they were fully open like they were this year. For some reason, still don't have that defined just yet why this year. Probably because we became too light, that kind of thing. All of the lower astral beings, ran the risk of losing. We don't have a lot of these beings over here anymore, but that alignment still meant in the past that there would be a fight between the quote unquote angels and the demons that would occur on Earth at this time. If you remember, last year, this time is pretty close to the time where we had, I think it was on the 13th or so of November of last year, and don't quote me on that one, but that's when we had the legions come upon Earth. And we thought the legions were going to help us fight the bad humans. I definitely thought that from some of the things that I saw, but I guess what I didn't realize is how many of those beings were here on Earth were part of the guards and the gatekeeper groups. I don't know. They came, they saw, they conquered after the gate closed. We didn't hear a whole lot from them after a few weeks. And I thought, well, gee, everybody that comes here just bails on us and leaves us stuck here with the crazy humans. In some cases, non-humans, in some cases, clones. And, but I guess, it was the time of a battle. They came, they battled, they did their job on behalf of Source. I didn't really know at the time, but apparently a lot of the people that they were battling against were probably some of these guards that were still left here, at that time. It's interesting. At least things are coming to light that make more sense to me now, because there was no one else here. No one else came because there was no one really on the other side this year. But we did have some space junk and things like that left at various portal sites, which we did clean up. But this is what got the deep state, I guess, all riled up. But we were able to sever any kind of ties at this time to beings that had sent their soul down to the lower astral or into the nil or time of no time zone. And it just happens to be that the orange guy was just one of many people that lost their tie. So I'm hoping we see a lot of others that went through this process of the cloning process. Maybe we'll see a lot of clones going away. Can't do anything about the CIA's professional mask making division, but at least the actual people that make those decisions may no longer be with us. So within the next 72 hours, in theory, that's the theory, because this hasn't really ever happened before. So the opening was positive in some ways, and it was also negative in others, because it was a lot of work to clean up anything that had been left by the old guards and gatekeepers and realm owners in order to ensure that they were prepared for a battle. So, yeah, I guess you could say it was a long day, but it looks like we're fairly stable once again, and that's the end of the opening of the portal. As we go forward into the future, there have been some other things that we have put in place that will just reestablish that connection to Source. So that is a positive thing for us. We don't really need portals to Source to close and open and close and open, because we're not doing this for balance. We're not doing the battle here on Earth between the guards, so to speak, and guardians of the realms anymore. you know, along with 1111, and you would also have 22, 22, 33, 33, 44, 44. So it would all the way up to 99, 99. And that was the battle that would have happened. But, you know, it's kind of almost irrelevant at this point. But it, you know, like I said, the deep state is always hopeful that something or someone is going to come back and help them fight this battle. But yet, alas, no. Yesterday was a little bit rough in the morning as the deep state prepared to do their part in the battle. I guess they thought that I was the one they were battling against because I was the only one here. You know, and I definitely took a good licking yesterday morning, but, you know, still keep on ticking. So all worked out for the best. A couple little things I wanted to mention, and you know, it's just been a long day, so I'm probably going to cut this report a little shorter than the others this week. Okay, there is a live Q&A coming up next month, and I'm kind of excited to do that. It is going to be a Global Intelligence Agency live Q&A with me, and I think it's going to be around the 15th of December. We're working on that day. You will be able to ask your questions on a live chat within the app. If you are watching this live broadcast, which we're looking toward going live on Twitter or X or whatever you call it, as well as YouTube for as long as we can stay on there. But we won't have a live chat there, so there won't be any questions being monitored or being asked there. They'll only be asked in the app. So we'll probably have an opportunity for people that don't normally subscribe. If you do have questions, you know, we'll probably do kind of like a one-off thing for this specific Q&A. If it goes real well, then, you know, we may do them more often. So this could be kind of fun for me and definitely for all of you. Get your weird and wonderful questions answered. So that'll be fun. Also, I guess just a couple of other updates. We are still working on the marketplace. We have had a couple of vendors go in and try to do some beta testing. There is some more tweaks that need to happen on the back end for that to be ready to launch and be easy. You know, of course, we're in there in the breaking mode now because we're in beta testing, as it's pretty well put together at this point. It's been a long road and been a lot of work on behalf of all our teams, so I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that is working on that project as well. So that's pretty much the update for tonight. I guess I will see you all on Monday. Hopefully by the end of 11/22, we'll be smooth sailing. And probably some more angry deep state people over the weekend and some really confused Duck Dynasty / SSP operatives. So it's going to be a fun weekend. I know it is. And hopefully they'll be too busy yelling at each other and leave me alone this weekend, unlike they did yesterday in the morning. But we're still here, and, you know, we're still moving right along on our side of it, and we're definitely not going to look back. We're going to go forward into the future, and hopefully you'll all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see all of you on Monday.